All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, I'm going to do this real quick. All right, this video here that I'm doing, all right, it might be whatever it is I'm about to go into through the Spirit. All right, I haven't read any of these articles yet, so we're going to go off the top, all right, with it, and then flow with the Spirit and see where it takes us. All right, so I'm just putting it out there that, you know, however the Spirit leads, all right, this video might be taken down based on what we're about to go into. All right, because you got to understand that we're in the times where anyone who speaks the truth, all right, you're going to be demonized. They're going to take you out. All right, and that's why Bill Gates a few days ago, he said that the number one thing that they needed to worry about is so-called misinformation. All right, misinformation is basically a code name for anyone who's exposing the plans and the agendas of these devils. All right, making it a little too challenging for them to proceed with their BS. All right, their road to global domination. Okay, which is not going to happen. All right, through the Spirit and probably how Bashim Shai, we understand through the prophecies that these devils are not going to get very far. All right, and their time is very, very short. Okay, so here we have today a lot of information coming out regarding so-called cyber attacks. All right, and I believe earlier today, all right, Dabu did a video and the brothers posted in the chat, all right, that there was an apparent attack, so-called cyber attack in Kentucky, around the hospitals over there and so on and so forth. All right, and it's very convenient because all of a sudden, you know, even brothers was mentioning that all of a sudden this week, all right, starting last week into this week, all of a sudden these governments are, you know, easing up on the so-called restrictions. All right, and we start to think, what is up, right? These devils never do anything, you know, by accident. Scripture says what? They search out iniquities. They do a diligent search, right? So before they do anything, they have to kick it into motion with so-called tests. All right, they have to run drills, okay, and so on and so forth. All right, and the past year and a half, all right, they were doing drills and tests on cyber attacks, okay, the cyber world, okay. And it's funny because I actually did a couple of videos focusing on something known as cyber polygon, all right, and how they were basically running tests on what will happen to the electricity, to the Internet of Things if it were to be affected. And I have an article on the side which we're gonna bring out, okay. But all these things that they're about to do has been already planned, it's orchestrated, all right, to come against certain people who stand against this agenda that's happening, okay. Because I did notice something too, all right, that a lot of people now are starting to wake up, and not only are they waking up, they're actually putting themselves out on the internet. Okay, so I was thinking, I was like, how is it that these devils, they got all this net neutrality shit, they got all these things, people out here, you know, coming together, doing videos and stuff like that, and they ain't doing nothing about it. They ain't taking these videos down. They're not doing nothing. And I thought about it and I said, yeah, it makes sense because what they're doing is right now is a stage where they're collecting data. Okay, there's something known as TTIP, tag, trace, and it's like a TTID, tag, trace, and identify. Okay, so a lot of people now are coming out the woodwork. You know, the truth is being revealed onto them. All right, they put their faces out there, their names, their addresses. All right, oh, I live here. You can meet me at here. We got to come together and come against this government and so on and so forth. Well, they're paying attention. All right, and they're tracking all this stuff and they're putting it in a database, collecting all the information, and they're going to use it against those who stand against their agenda. Okay, so all this stuff that's about to happen with this whole cyber attack stuff, all right, they saying, oh, we fear that it could come from Russia. And I have an article which just came out, Dabu 7, all right, talking about, oh, the DHS fears that it could come from right-wing extremists. You know, this BS. All right, so right away, that's why I said we're gonna break them down. Okay, so let's read a little bit of this, and then we're gonna get a few articles, and then we're gonna close it out. All right, we see how the Spirit moves. So it says a report DHS, which is the Department of Homeland Security, fears Russian cyber attack if U.S. acts on Ukraine. Okay, so they're already putting out that narrative. Okay, that any type of cyber attack can be blamed on Russia. Okay, and meanwhile, Russia ain't doing nothing. Russia just minding their own business. You out here trying to get all involved in situations that's happening to a country that is bordering Russia. They border Russia. They literally next to Russia. All right, all the way in Europe, and you out here on the West worried about business over there. Why? And mind you, Ukraine is not even part of NATO. So why is the United States so concerned about that? Okay, so let's read. It says the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is reportedly warning that the U.S. could witness a retaliatory cyber attack at the hands of Russia if it decides to respond to the latter's potential invasion of Ukraine, where 100,000 or more troops have been amassed for weeks. According to a DHS intelligence and analysis bulletin dated January 23rd and sent to law enforcement agencies around the country, officials believe that if the U.S. responds to rising tensions at Ukraine's eastern border, the Russian government, bring that back, the Russian government or its state-sponsored actors could initiate a cyber attack, reports ABC News, which viewed the bulletin. Right? The document reportedly reads, "We assess that Russia would consider initiating a cyber attack against the homeland of if it perceived a U.S. or NATO response to a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine threatened its long-term national security." Right? And it's funny because I was in the car earlier today and I was like, so you mean to tell me that Russia is planning an invasion? Everybody knows about it, including Ukraine, but yet they're giving dates talking about, oh, calm down, Russia is not going to invade us just yet. Oh, they're not coming yet. Just calm down. Don't get alarmed. Your country's about to get invaded. That's a form of war. Are you not prepared? Why are you out here telling people, oh, calm down, they're not going to do it? And the next thing you know, you read an article that says a top general from Ukraine is he has insight on when Russia is going to invade. I mean, this is comic. It's comical at this point. You know, it's comical at this. Anyone who believes this BS that's happening, because remember, the Western media, all right, they all they do is propaganda. Okay, it's all propaganda, man. It's all about narrative control. Okay, control of the people's minds, perceptions of reality, and so on and so forth. So if you're sitting back watching ABC News, CNN, and all this bullshit, all right, your perception is going to be skewed. Okay, that's why a lot of people don't know what the hell is going on in the world right now. We're at the brink of World War III. We're at the brink of all hell breaking loose here in America, and you still got people out here talking about I'm going shopping. You know, worried about the most irrelevant things in the world. Okay, the Lord has a spirit on this earth that feels very much like the end. Okay, because we are at the end. It's a spirit thing. It's a spiritual thing that's on the earth, almost like a covering cast, and everyone is feeling the effects of it, whether they know it or not. Okay, and tensions, wars, rumors of wars, cyber attacks, all these different things are part of the end time prophecies, man. Whether you understand it or not, because it's something that everyone is going to have to face. Okay, so it says DHS warns that Russia can employ a range of offensive cyber tools against U.S. networks, including a low-level denial of service attack on a destructive attack on critical infrastructure. So here we're reading about how the DHS has information, all the specific information on how Russia is planning a cyber attack on the US, right? Okay, so let's keep that in mind, all right? Just to show you how contradictory and how stupid these devils really are, right? It says DHS officials maintain that Russia's threshold for conducting disruptive or destructive cyber attacks remain very high, right? You got to keep the fear tactics going, right? And long story short, these devils are the ones who are going to bring the cyber attack. It ain't Russia. It ain't so-called right-wing extremist groups. None of that shit. It's them, because it has to follow a certain agenda. That's why the title of the video is the next convenient, The next convenient global catastrophe. Okay, the next convenient global catastrophe, man. All right. So continuing, it says, hey, shalom, shalom, yabashim yashad brakatham, shalom. All right, to anyone who's on the comment board joining me. All right, so let's keep going. It says, um, these attacks. It says these are attacks the agency says Moscow has not directly employed against U.S. infrastructure in the past, although it has engaged cyber espionage campaigns such as SolarWinds. Right, the latter distributed via a corrupt update on SolarWinds. SolarWinds software later affected 100 organizations globally, with follow on attacks at 9 U.S. federal agencies, including DHS and the Department of Commerce. Experts have attributed the campaign of APT 29, aka Nobelium, which is linked to Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, or SVR. All right, it's funny how it's interesting how just Russia is the one that's, when they set their attack, their mindset on something, all of a sudden that thing becomes that major threat, right? So Russia, U.S. hasn't done anything to Russia as of right now, right? But yet all of a sudden Russia is planning to come against the U.S. and it's conveniently happening when the U.S. actually wants to go against Russia. Come on, bro. They just creating an enemy, okay, to justify whatever it is that they're about to do. Okay, it says Sunday's bulletin also reportedly highlights Russia-linked attacks targeting Ukraine's electric grid, which struck in 2015 and 2016. Very interesting. Quote, this is not at all unanticipated, and is right in line with a joint alert from the FBI and CISA about 10 days ago, says Mike Hamilton, former vice chair of the DHS State, Local, Tribal, and Territorial Government Coordinating Council. Geopolitical tensions are at a high, and the U.S. should not feel as though this activity is confined to NATO curious countries. It's been well reported that Russia fingerprints have been found inside our own critical infrastructure networks. It is unlikely that all the access gained has been taken back. So what have you done about all this information here? Why is it now coming out? Because you people are full of shit. You just make things up, man. All right. It says Hamilton, former CISO for the city of Seattle and currently the CISO for the firm Critical Insight, adds, given all this information and these trends, it is likely that any military action taken by the U.S. in Ukraine will be met by actions designed to give the U.S. other things to worry about, right? This has nothing to do with Russia. Once again, whatever the cyber attack that's coming, it ain't Russia doing it. It's these elites, all right? And they ran tests. They ran tests to do exactly what we're going through right now, okay? Had nothing to do with Russia, all right? So we got to put that out there. And we're going to, let's just keep going. It says, the latest warning follows a rapid surge in crypto locking attacks eyeing U.S. targets in 2021. These include Russia-backed ransomware hits on Colonial Pipeline, which caused fuel shortages along the U.S. East Coast. Also, the world's largest meat supplier, JBS, went dark after Russian hackers crypto-locked its systems. And once again, what did you do about this? If you really truly have evidence that Russia is actually doing these things, present it to the public. Don't tell us that you think or believe and see. No, show it to us. So we know what the hell is actually going on. But see, they're not going to do that. They're just going to tell you what they believe, what they think. It's all BS. Okay? It's all BS, man. Don't believe none of this bullshit these devils try to put out there, because what they're about to do is to F the whole world. Okay? And they've said it. Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, we haven't forgotten that. They actually came out and said it. Cyber Polygon. Okay? What was that all about? Doing tests to attack cyber. They did tests on this, going all the way back in June of 2021. Okay? And then they actually followed through it in October of 2021. So what the hell are these devils talking about? Like we're not paying attention? It says earlier this month, multiple Ukrainian websites were defaced with warnings to be afraid and expect the worst, which came as troops continue to amass at the country's eastern border. And the country's eastern border is where Russia is at. Okay? Because Ukraine is west of Russia. All right? It says several government websites affected by the breach were taken offline to be restored. Defaced websites included messages written in Ukrainian, Russian, and Polish. The incident occurred after a week of diplomatic discussions between NATO and Russia. Okay, and where did those talks end up at? Nowhere, right? Nowhere. And that's how you have wars. When you have disagreements, okay, wars and rumors of wars, we're in that time. Okay, we are in that time of wars and rumors of wars, man. Okay, one nation shall rise against another. The rise is talking about what? Getting stirred up. Okay, and that's what's happening. NATO is stirring up Russia with this whole Ukraine situation. All right, cause for concern. Ukraine-Russia relations have continued to sour in recent months after Russian President Vladimir Putin criticized Ukraine's plans to join NATO. The White House subsequently warned that Moscow was running disinformation campaigns. Oh, look at that. The White House. They warned that Moscow was running disinformation campaigns targeting Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky's administration. Okay, so the propaganda continues, right? So let's keep going. It says, Putin threatened to further invade Ukraine if the country is allowed to join NATO. But the US and its NATO allies said Ukraine's decision is not open to negotiation and have called on Moscow to de escalate and pursue diplomacy, threatening that there will be reprisals for any further military activity. Now, you, America, once again, you all the way on the West, what do you have to say about a country that actually borders Russia? That's like Russia coming to Mexico and saying, "Look, U.S., you have nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're gonna come out here. We're gonna set up military bases. We're gonna set up defense military systems. Okay, we're gonna set up offensive military nuclear missile systems, and we're gonna target it towards America. But yet, you have nothing to say about this. You can't get involved in this. That's completely crazy. But that's what these devils are doing. Okay, showing you the hypocrisy of these devils. All right. It says, despite warnings from U.S. President Joe Biden to the Kremlin, Putin has remained steadfast on preventing Ukraine's NATO entry and has sought a NATO troop removal from Eastern Europe. Blah 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 blah. Right. Sets a new expectation. Okay, so we're gonna pause right here with this. All right, and we're gonna touch on this right here. Okay, and this is, it says here, Cyber Polygon, will the next globalist war game lead to another convenient catastrophe? Now, before we get into that, after reading this, let's go back to the headline, right? DHS fears Russian cyber attack if US acts on Ukraine. Okay, cool. Now let's go over here. This is how propaganda works, right? Now, DHS comes out again, says, DHS warns that right-wing extremists could attack power grid. Oh, so it's not just Russia no more. All of a sudden, they have to bring in the right-wing extremist groups, right? So let's read a little bit about this shit. It says the Department of Homeland Security is warning that violent domestic groups and racially motivated extremists may attack the electric sector. Now, ask yourself, why would they ever do that? So if somebody is a violent domestic group, show the evidence of them actually performing violent acts. You can't just come up and wake up and just say, well, because then we could say, well, Esau, based on your track record, you should be thrown in jail, right? You're the devil that the Bible speaks of, and you're going to be destroyed. When we say that, you guys are preaching hate. But facts is not hate, right? Your history speaks against you. That's why you're trying so hard to wipe away your history, but you can't. You cannot. You cannot. You've been exposed, right? And coming up with tacky little shit like this, right? You all of a sudden you're warning, all right, that violent domestic groups. Why don't you go stop them? And why don't you name these groups, right? And racially motivated extremists may attack the electric sector. Oh wow! So you're a violent domestic group, and you're racially motivated. So you're going to attack the electric sector? Really? Interesting. Let's read some more of this stuff. It says, domestic violent extremists and racially motivated extremists have been developing plans to attack the U.S. electric sector, according to an intelligence bulletin from the Department of Homeland Security that was issued this week and obtained by the Daily Beast, of course. And this goes to show you, if people really believe that DHS and all this, bro, At this point, you should know this alone tells you that they have no power. With all the technology, with all the intelligence, with all the stuff that they know, you mean to tell me you're going to hear about domestic terrorist groups and extremist groups coming together to fight against, to do something against your grid? And you can't do nothing about it besides come out here and warn people that it could possibly happen? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Right? It's BS. It says DVEs have developed credible, specific plans to attack electricity infrastructure since at least 2020. And we're in 2022 and you ain't catch on to what they're actually trying to do. Identifying the electric grid as a particularly attractive target, given its interdependency with other infrastructure sectors, the alert said. So people worried about getting these restrictions off their backs. People worried about their jobs. People worried about not taking this Vanessa or taking this Vanessa and so on and so forth. A whole division. People worried about food. There's bear shells Biden going on. And you mean to tell me that this is what people are actually worried about? Or maybe that's what you're planning to do, but you need to find a story to cover up, right? You need to create a boogeyman. Once again, you devils use the same tactics and we on to you, all right? DHS's Office of Intelligence and Analysis issued the alert to the electric sector Monday, following requests from power companies to take stock of increased threats from domestic violent extremists in 2020 and 2021. Once again, we call bullshit. It's called propaganda. Okay? Let's look up the word propaganda real quick. All right. I can't stand these devils in their lives, man. It's too much. It's annoying as hell. It's fucking annoying, man. All right? And the annoying thing is when people believe it. Okay? Propaganda. Let me see. It says set forward, extend, spread, increase. Okay? They must have a better definition for this. It says any movement or organization to propagate some practice or ideology. Okay, which is the very definition, but it says material or information propagated to advance a cause. You hear that? And what is the cause? Right here. Cyber Polygon, World Economic Forum, getting everyone to be chipped. Okay? And it's going to start off by breaking down the grid and building it upon how they want to build it. This is all part of the plan. Okay? This is all part of the plan. Demonizing those who come against this last plan right here. Okay? So we on to you, devils. And we're not going to let you go. All right? It says the alert comes as DHS and federal investigators strain to keep up with the threat of domestic violent extremists and continue to work to charge participants in the January 6th insurrection. Another thing that they did is an inside job. Those who know what's going on understand this is fake. This was made up. There was no insurrection. It was an act. There was actually a police officer, a female police officer in that thing that happened. And she said, yo, this feels like a movie, like we're shooting a movie scene. Right? So this is all propaganda. Once again, it says the head of DHS's Office of Intelligence and Analysis, John Cohen, told lawmakers in recent testimony that nearly 1 year after the riot in Capitol Hill, or on Capitol Hill, the threat landscape from domestic violent extremists is one of the most complex, volatile, and dynamic that I've experienced in my career. It makes you a pussy and a bitch, and you're not qualified to hold that kind of position. If this January 6th insurrection was one of the biggest problems for you, okay? You don't belong, you people, man. It says, and you Americans got to be worried about these things, because if these are the so-called officials that run your world and your country, you're in trouble. That's why the scripture says America's going to be destroyed within 1 hour. 1 hour, pertaining to Revelation, the 18th chapter, man. Okay? It says DHS has been buckling down on efforts to share more intelligence on domestic violent extremism with the private sector and state and local partners, according to Cohen. So that's, in other words, they're getting ready to roll in on those men, the men of the Lord. Okay, the men of the Lord, because we're the ones that they consider, all right, domestic violent extremism or extremist groups. Okay, when you go down to the when you read about the Southern Poverty Law Center thing that they got going on, all right, they got so-called, they call it Black Hebrew Israelites on there. All right, And we tell them, no, we don't rep that name. There's no such thing as Black Hebrew Israelite, but they don't care because again, it's propaganda. They have to keep those words for whatever it is, whatever witchcraft they're about to pull to work, right? DHS, no, let's read that. It says over the last year, over the last year and a half, the FBI has been pushing more resources to domestic terrorism investigations. Okay, and what have you been able to find? You tap into everybody's phones. You got the NSA listen to every conversation. You got the FBI. You got the CIA. You got all these niggas who listen to everything. They got all the information. But yet, you mean to tell me that you don't know about no domestic terrorism? Like you don't know what's going on. Put all your resources in there, and you haven't been able to stop anyone from doing any type of terroristic behavior until now. Whenever your plan has to kick into motion, all of a sudden people are threats. Come on, bro. It says, and the FBI has more than doubled its domestic terrorism caseload since spring of 2020, according to FBI Director Christopher Wray. Right? It says white supremacists expressed interest in wreaking havoc on the power grid if President Donald Trump were to lose re-election in 2020. And what happened? We're in 2022. Right? It says, and last year, 4 men with ties to racially motivated extremists were charged with conspiracy to damage the property of an energy facility in the United States after using assault-style rifles. You got to put that guns in there, right? Assault-style rifles in an attempt to explode a power substation. That's bullshit. Okay, straight up bullshit. All right, these devils ain't shit. Yo, we can't, man. No, the kingdom, bro. In the kingdom, you devils, all these lies, all this BS, you gonna pay for this, man. All right, you devils gonna pay for this. Just read, it says DHS intelligence suggests that domestic violent extremists will continue to plot attacks against electrical infrastructure in the U.S. that may result in physical damage. Conversations from domestic violent extremists online in recent months have focused on encouraging lone wolf attacks. What the fuck? As well as attempts to inspire individuals with little or no training to go after electric infrastructure. Why? That's the question. Why? Why would anyone want to do that? Knowing that if anyone was to go out there and attack any type of electrical infrastructure, nigga, it affects everyone. Why the hell would people wake up and say that's what we're gonna do? Why? That makes no sense. The average person does not have any clue of how this electrical infrastructure even works. So what the hell are these devils talking about? I always say this: your storylines are so easy to beat. You got to come up with something easier to work. Like it has to make sense. Okay. It says including with firearms, improvised incendiary devices, hammers, and power saws. Really? And who's coming up with all these stuff? Who? Tell us who, so we know exactly who's doing it. Huh? It says the Daily Beast, of course, right? Contacted DHS for a comment. A spokesperson said DHS regularly shares information with local governments and private sector partners. Aha. Right? Bullshit, once again. So now that we read about this, the propaganda begins. All right, they're putting out the information that they're going to run on. All right, to what? To demonize those who come against their system. Because they're about to collapse all this shit. Okay, they're about to collapse all this shit. All right. It says Cyber Polygon, will the next globalist war game lead to another convenient catastrophe? So we have this on deck. But yet these devils are out here trying to convince us that whatever cyber attack that's about to happen is going to be either by Russia or by some type of right-wing extremist group. We got to believe this bullshit. Come on, man. The narratives are getting weak, so they've been weak, but come on. All right, let's read this. It says back in April, I published an article titled "Globalists Will Need Another Crisis in America as Their Reset Agenda Fails." In it, I noted an odd trend which many of us in the U.S. or many of us in the liberty media have become aware of over the years. Almost every major man-made catastrophe in the U.S. and in many other parts of the world in the past couple decades has been preceded by a government or globalist exercise. You hear that? So this has nothing to do with Russia, and it has nothing to do with so-called right wing extremist groups. That's bullshit. Okay, that's propaganda once again. All right, and we're gonna keep calling you devils out, man, because you're full of shit. All right, come on with it, and stop with the games, man. All right. It says, and this is what we call problem reaction solution. Okay, problem reaction solution. Let's look up. Let's do a little bit of something. All right, problem reaction solution. Let's read a little bit about that, because that's exactly what this is. Okay, it says a conspiracy theory postulated by David Icke, in which the government or another higher power manipulates the population by introducing a problem and then using their own means to solve that problem. Easy, easy, man. Another term for it will be the Hegelian dialectic. Let's look at that. The Hegelian dialectic, right there. All right, let's read a little bit about that. Hegel's dialectics. All right, dialectics is a term used to describe a method of philosophical argument that involves some sort of contradictory process between opposing ideas. So you have what? The thesis and then the antithesis, right? The problem and then you have the solution, but then you need something in between. Okay? The problem is again is the problem is being caused by a specific entity, and the solution is being brought about by that same entity. Okay? So you're sitting around, all of a sudden, the lights go out. You're thinking, oh my God, Russia. No, that's what they told you. So you will sit back and think, oh yeah, we have to go to war because it's justified. Russia just came at us, right? But if people actually sit home and actually know what's going on, they're gonna be like, hold up, wait a minute. We're gonna ask the government questions. And they don't want that. Now, why do you think they all of a sudden they build up a whole wall around the damn White House, man? And we said when you start seeing those things coming to pass, when you start seeing them building fences and walls around the Pentagon, the White House, Congress buildings, and so on and so forth, all these so-called major government buildings, get ready because they're about to do something that's going to cause a reaction of the people, and the people are going to go against these government officials, as is written in the scriptures, Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. Okay, for there shall be sedition among men. All right, the people are not going to regard their kings nor princes. All right. So the Hegelian dialectic is basically, simply put, problem reaction solution. Okay, the thesis, antithesis, synthesis, man. Okay. So it says these exercises and war games tend to mimic the exact disaster that would eventually strike the public only days or weeks later. Sometimes the mock disaster exercises and the real events happen at the same time. The C-19 demic was no exception. It's quite miraculous, right? I have specifically outlined the bizarre coincidence of the World Economic Forum's Event 201 exercise, a war game co-founded by Bill Gates and Johns Hopkins and launched in October of 2019. Event 201 simulated a global novel zoonotic corona, C-19 endemic, supposedly spread from bats to people, right? That required a global lockdown response. Ooh, right? Only 2 months later, the real thing actually happened. Almost every aspect of the C event has played out exactly as was practiced during the World Economic Forum war game. Okay, so once again, this has nothing to do with Russia coming against your cyber, your power grids, and this definitely has nothing to do with so-called right-wing extremists. Okay, there's no such thing. There's a made-up word by the CIA once again, just like the term conspiracy theory. All right, those are words that are used to break down conversation. If you come up with a topic, anything you're talking about, if somebody labels it a conspiracy theory, it shuts down the conversation. And that's what they created to bring down those who bring about the truth. Anyone who speaks against the government or plans of these so-called elites and what they're trying to do, which is the truth, they'll label it conspiracy theory and say, "Oh, this guy's nuts. He's a conspiracy nut." But guess what? 2020, 2021, and so far in 2022, what's been happening? All the so-called conspiracy theories are happening right in your face, right? And you can't defend against it. All you can do is just sit there and keep calling it conspiracy theories. Okay? It says one very disturbing element of the C response has been the coordinated suppression campaign by big tech platforms from YouTube to Facebook and Twitter. Right? That's why in the beginning of the video I said this video might be taken down because we ain't pulling punches. All right, I'm sick of these devils already, man. All the videos, yo, they keep taking down video after video after video. And sometimes I'll be like, yo, I didn't even say nothing. So if you're gonna take down the video for me not saying nothing, then I'm just gonna say it. All right. It says this campaign has sought to undermine or destroy any facts, data, and opinions which run contrary to the government narrative on C19. It says even if the official narrative on C ends up being completely wrong. Okay, so you cannot speak against them, man. All right, and they sending their bots out here, and guess what? We're gonna play this game. I got time of day. All right. It says the strategy was described in detail during Event 201 and it was executed with extreme efficiency among supposedly disconnected companies and governments around the world. And that's BS once again, because guess what? They were all part of the plan. That's why now you have them putting together the private sector and the public sector. So don't get it twisted with all these. All of a sudden, the Supreme Court is allowing people. Oh, this is unconstitutional, right? That we're gonna shut this down. No more Vanessa mandates. No more mask mandates. All this stuff is unconstitutional. Guess what? They still gonna win. Why? They bought out the private sectors. So though the Supreme Court has said, well, this is unconstitutional. We can't run this. All right, you can't mandate it. You can't enforce it. Guess what? Any company could privately just say, look, well, I understand what the Supreme Court said, but this is our company, and this is how we are doing it to keep our people safe. And they'll play all these arguments. To keep our people safe, we believe that you have to get this, this, and that. If not, you can't work with us, right? So they can pull some shit like that. That's why they keep pushing the private sector, the private sector. Look at Walmart. Out there in Canada, Walmart is saying, if you come in here without the thing, well, you can't be serviced. You can't even come in here. You know? So that's leading to that with Revelation 13:16. All right. We're in those times, man. We in those times. All right. If you can't see it, we're moving on, bro. This ain't the time to be going back and forth trying to debate niggas in the world. Like, man, fuck you niggas, bro. If you don't get it, Most High about to destroy you. Just wait for your missiles. All right. And before that, just wait, man. Because you niggas talk too much shit. All right. Especially you Jakes out there coming against men of the Lord. We out here giving you warning of what's to come. You're not paying attention. You want to come against the truth. The fuck is wrong with you niggas, man? I hope the Most High destroy every last one of you niggas, bro. I can't wait for that. All right, I can't wait for that because it's getting worse and worse and worse with the behavior of these niggas, man. It says it's almost as if they knew a C19 endemic was about to happen, and they were already staged to control the public reaction well in advance. So that's why they do stuff like this. Okay, they put this stuff out there. Oh, cyber attack by Ukraine. Oh, your right wing extremist group could attack the power grid. What? Really? How does that even make sense? Oh, these devils, bro. It says, hey, let me get a quick precept. All right, this is why they hate us so much, because every narrative they try to bring out, right? Every narrative they try to bring out, we out here, we listening, we watching, and what we doing? We exposing you. We're gonna keep exposing you devils, man. Right? This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11 says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Okay? And lies and deception are all part of Satan's devices. Okay? It says, and let's be clear, because I do not want to seem ambiguous, the World Economic Forum and their globalist partners have been the prime beneficiaries during the pandemic. As World Economic Forum head Klaus Schwab, that devil, has excitedly noted, hear that? Excitedly noted over and over again, the pandemic is a perfect opportunity for globalists to fast track what they call the Great Reset agenda, a plan to completely dismantle the current political and economic framework of the world and rebuild it into a highly centralized socialist civilization in which they are in complete control and personal freedom is faded memory. All right? Personal freedom is a faded memory. Why do you think they keep saying, oh, it's not about oh, your personal rights is about the greater good of people. Get the F out of here, man. Nobody want to hear that talk, bro. All right? Nobody want to hear that. Like I said, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these, Jeff Bezos, all right, all these corny ass cornball Edomites that keep coming up talking about how they think what we got to do in order to go back to normal is what they say is best for us. They're gonna be in slavery. They're gonna get shackled up. They're gonna get beat up. They're gonna get messed up. Okay, in the kingdom to come. That's guaranteed. That's guaranteed, man. All right. Look what happened to us. We went into slavery, and what does the scripture say? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the faith and the patience of the saints. We are the saints. Look what we went through. And it was by whose hand? By Esau, Edom's hand, and these other nations. So when the Most High is coming down on you devils with great wrath, it's going to be by whose hand? Yahushai, the angels, and the men of the Lord. Okay? Really, the whole nation of Israel. We're going to have our hands on you devils, man. Okay? And rightfully so, because look what you've done to the world. Look what the fuck you've done to the world, man. And you expect everybody to just go along just to, well, for what? And it's so sickening when you hear Jake they can't snap out of it. And they're gonna stay in their ignorance and be destroyed by thermonuclear missiles, and rightfully so. Okay? There's no room for you ignorant niggas, man. The Lord is going to have to destroy every last one of you niggas. If you can't get it, we're moving on. All right? We're too late in the game for niggas to be joking around. All right? And very soon, when you start seeing the judgments of the Lord out here, there'll be no mercy. There'll be no mercy, man. You coming on comment boards talking about, yo, man, I'm sorry for what I said. Well, too bad. Too bad. All right? I'm also gonna punch you right in the fucking mouth, man. All right? It says, this is why recent revelations of C probable lab origins are not at all surprising. Just mentioning this idea a year ago. All right, we're gonna jump this. I want to jump into the polygon stuff. All right. Let's see. Let's see. All right, so let's go down a little bit. Right here. It says here, we are consistently called conspiracy theorists throughout this event. We have consistently been called conspiracy theorists throughout this event by government bureaucrats and the media, but we were right about almost everything, and the mainstream media has been wrong about almost everything. Either that, or they have been knowingly lying about almost everything. Yes, it's all done by design. Okay, it's all done by design. Soon they're gonna come out and say, "Oh, we apologize for the science that you trusted," bro. That's when people go and really lose it. All right, when there's no food and the government's coming out talking about, there's nothing we can really do to help you out your situation right now. Then people are going to lose it. Okay. It says, this dynamic is important to understand because I believe the situation is far from over and that more crisis events are about to be engineered or they will magically happen by coincidence. So that's why they're putting that narrative out there to blame it on who? They know what they're doing. And we also know what they're doing. All right. It says, my biggest concern right now is the upcoming Cyber Polygon exercise being headed by the World Economic Forum this July. The war game is meant to simulate a cyber attack on vital infrastructure that would lead to a shutdown of the global supply chain, or at least the supply chains within certain nations. As I warned in April, the timing of Cyber Polygon is suspicious. As the C lockdown agenda is breaking down in the US and the Vanessa passports are not winning favor among a large percentage of Americans, the globalists will need another crisis even if they hope to achieve their goal for their great reset. Only weeks after I published my initial concerns about Cyber Polygon, a massive cyber attack was reported which struck the 5,500-mile Colonial Pipeline. The pipeline supplies gasoline to most of the eastern seaboard, and after a week of being shut down, numerous states were reporting gas shortages. The story has since quietly faded from mainstream news cycles, and that actually happened. We actually witnessed all that stuff, right? It says in the past few days, yet another major cyber attack has been reported against JBS, a meat company that supplies around 23% of all U.S. beef and pork production. And see, they're targeting the food system. Okay, and soon they're going to target what the medical system, and then ultimately they're going to break down the whole system where people's every day-to-day life, your transportation, all right, your banking information, all that stuff is going to be compromised. Just watch, all right, because it's done by design. Okay, it's not by coincidence, and it ain't no right-wing extremists doing none of this shit. Okay, because right-wing extremists going to be affected by this anyway. All right. It says production at JBS has shut down, and now there is a possibility of meat shortages across the country if the problems are not solved soon. Again, it is just coincidence that these large-scale cyber attacks are happening with greater frequency in the lead up to a WEF, which is World Economic Forum Cyber Polygon Simulation. It says, or is Cyber Polygon another Event 201? You're damn right it is. Okay? You're damn right it is. And guess what? I can say this because they've been calling us conspiracy theorists for so long, and everything we keep saying comes to pass. All right, but it gets even crazier when you're dealing with the scriptures, because you can't get around that. All right, you can't get around that. Just like the scripture says, what happened is exactly how it happens. You can't get around that. Okay, you can get around predictions of a man, like, oh well, I believe that they might do this year or that year or this week or that week. They get around that because they listen to what we say based on the information they put out there, and then they go based on that. They calculate the eye. They're paying attention. Oh, maybe they're not paying attention. We can use this. So they play along with that. But prophecy, you can't play along with that. You're in it. You're subject to it, right? It says, uh, is a is it a beta test for a disaster that is planned for the near future? The World Economic Forum is openly refusing cyber attacks to see outbreaks. So I am inclined to suspect the latter. You're damn right. Okay. It says the supply chain issue has come to the forefront of the wake of the pandemic as retailers have had to deal with intermittent shortages and manufacturers are facing a lack of components. Not only that, but inflationary troubles are also weighing on supplies. That said, a cyber attack is another animal entirely. Whether or not the event is real or staged, the supply chain is fragile because of global interdependency. In the US, there are many necessities that rely on foreign manufacturers on the just in time freight system, right? And if you have a shutdown like we have now, it just piles up, okay? And now you're starting to see the effects, okay, of not having a supply chain that's working perfectly well, okay? You have bare shelves biting, okay? But soon when you go into, I just went to the store today and I'm like, damn, like the whole produce section is empty, you know? And I'm like, yo, this thing is really like you got people actually trying to, fill up the racks. They're trying to fill up the shelves as quick as possible. They do a really good job, but soon guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna be like, yo, F this shit. I fill it up and then 2 minutes later it's gone. It's like, yo, I'm getting tired of doing this, bro. I'm always running around trying to refill the shelves, and people gonna just give up. Everyone's just gonna give up, man. What's the point? Right? What's the point? You got people coming in just picking whatever they want and running away with it. Like, what's the point? Right? It says in the U.S. It says preparedness and long-term storage are not a part of the vocabulary of the common U.S. business. All right, right. It says, and when was done. Okay, it says I don't really know if the supply chain could be shut down completely using a cyber attack. You damn right it will. But in combination with inflation and draconian pandemic restrictions, it is possible to disrupt the flow of goods for weeks at a time. All right, and they said in time, they said in time before the MOTB comes out, they will get people by starvation. And that's their plan. See, their plan is to starve people out so they'll be willing to take that thing, the MOTB. But it's funny because them starving people out is biblical prophecy known as famines, right? So John saw these things. John, the book of Revelation is talking about all these things. Yahushua talked about all these things. Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13. Okay, you go into Second Ezra, the 14th chapter, the 15th chapter, the 16th chapter. It all talks about these times that we're living in. So you can't miss it. Okay, you can't miss it because those who don't even read the scriptures are living the prophecies, man. We're all living through it. Okay, whether you accept it or not, this time that we're living in is biblical prophecy that signifies the end of this age. Okay, So I know people don't like to hear this stuff. Oh, stop talking negative. Oh, wish good for America. Guess what? America is done. She's finished. All right. Look at your president. That should show you something. Okay. Whoo. Right. Continuing. It says, and then we gonna watch the video, this video right here, and then we're gonna close it up. All right. So continuing. It says, my hope. Actually, oh, let's I missed the spot, right? It says it is also impossible to predict how many people are prepared for such a calamity. Most people are not prepared because they don't even know there's a calamity coming. You know, Matthew 24 tells us about what? The beginning of sorrows. All right, the sorrows is talking about what? Intolerable anguish. Intolerable anguish. That is calamity that's coming that these people don't even know about. That's why the scripture says it's going to come what? As a thief in the night. It's going to be when they shall say peace and safety, what? The sudden destruction cometh upon them, right? Like a woman that travaileth, and they shall not escape, right? Just my hope is that more than 30% of Americans have at least begun the path of preparing or prepping, but undoubtedly a majority of the country has not, right? It says all it would take is a couple weeks of shortages or a grid down scenario, and most people would be facing starvation, among other things. Okay, so that's the plan. That is the plan, and like I said, it has nothing to do with right wing extreme. It ain't about that. It ain't about that. It ain't about Russia either. Okay, this is something that they've planned to bring down the system. They've planned to do it, but who they gonna blame it on? They have to come up with something. Oh, these guys, the right way. That's how they play the game, bro. It's always been like this. Okay. It says if eventual one is any indication, then we should remain vigilant and watch carefully for another major cyber attack affecting the supply chain within months or 2 months of the World Economic Forum Cyber Polygon exercise in July. You see, now information like this, when somebody reads it, they're gonna be like, oh, but they said 2 months and nothing happened in 2 months, so then ain't nothing gonna happen. Well, they do this on purpose, right? They do it deliberately. These devils are not just going to do things out of the realm. No. The scripture says what? It has to come as a form of a shock. Okay, so the Lord is going to guide them to do it exactly how the prophecy said will happen. Okay, so let's get that real quick. Okay, this is book of First Thessalonians, chapter 5. All right, in verse 1, it says, "But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you." So we have no need to try to break down what times we're in. The elect already know what time we're in because it's the times that we've been waiting for. Okay, it says, "For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night." Why? Because people are not going to be watching. Okay, they're not going to be watching, and they're going to get caught off guard. All right, you're very vulnerable at night because you're at home. You're relaxed. You're not really paying attention to what's going on. You don't really care about what your women come home and take off their makeup. All right. You be a man. You be in your crib wearing your boxers. You're just walking around. You know, you're at ease. You're very vulnerable. Right. You about to go to sleep. You know, and the most your house shot gonna pop in on your ass and you're like, yo, what's up? Answer these questions. And then here you are. You sweating. You know, you don't know what was going on. You're looking for your phone. You know. It says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Okay, this is what's coming. All right, so let's watch this video real quick. All right, and then we're going to close it out through the Spirit. All right.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken our economies and societies to the core and shown us how vulnerable we are to biological threats. In the digital world, similar risks are being overlooked right now. A cyber attack with COVID-like characteristics would spread faster and further than any biological virus.
So, real quick, I'm gonna let the video play. All right. So the World Economic Forum, who's behind all the stuff that's happening in the world right now, because they see when you go into the word the Latin phrase "cui bono," it means one who stands to benefit. Right. So all these things that's happening, when you go to cui bono, they are the ones. World Economic Forum. They stand to benefit alongside these so-called Vanessa companies, all right, these governments and so on and so forth, because it's all about global domination, no? Right. So if they came up with this thing that they're going to create a cyber attack with seed-like characteristics, and we've seen them attack Kentucky and so on and so forth. They've already gone through the cyber polygon tests, and all of a sudden it's time for them to make the move. Now you have this. DHS is warning about right-wing extremists attacking power grid. The very exact thing that these devils said they're going to attack. You saying that right-wing extremist group. So is a right-wing extremist group the World Economic Forum? Because if you say it that way, then it will make sense. But to come up and say, oh, it's just random people coming together to fight against the government, and all that's BS, bro. That's BS. All right? That's BS. So let's keep going. These devils, man. Again, this is all them creating the propaganda and the narrative to come against the people. All right? It's all against the people. It's war against the people. All right? And it must be justified.
Its reproductive rate would be around 10 times greater than what we've experienced with the coronavirus. To give you an idea, one of the fastest worms in history, the 2003 slammer sapphire worm, doubled in size approximately every 8.5 seconds, infecting over 75,000 devices in 10 minutes and almost 11 million devices in 24 hours. Fortunately, at least until now, cyber attacks have not impacted our health the way pandemics have, but the economic damages, and therefore the impact they have had on our daily lives, have been equal and sometimes even greater. You see, the only way to stop the exponential propagation of a COVID-like cyber threat is to fully disconnect the millions of vulnerable devices from one another and from the internet. All of this in a matter of days. A single day without the internet would cost our economies more than 50 billion US dollars.
And the economy now is shaky. So one day of some type of cyber attack is going to cause, that'll be it. There'll be no recovery. That's how they're going to kick things into the next gear. All right. What is the phrase of this year? The year 2022, the year where Yahweh Bashim Yahushai turns up. And all these prophecies are lining up perfectly. And you can see exactly what's happening. What? 25 days into the month or into the year, and look what's happening. Now they're talking about cyber attacks. All of a sudden. And we see these devils have done tests. They've ran drills on cyber attacks. And how it's going to affect the global economy, and how through that they're going to bring about a system that's going to be all digital. They've talked about this. So we're not buying no bullshit about Russia is attacking the cyber attack shit. We're not buying that. We don't want to hear that. All right. We don't want to hear right-wing extremist groups, DHS. We don't want to hear that shit either. All right. What we do want to hear is you telling the truth, which you're never going to do. So that means we got to do it. All right. So we're going to continue to do it. All right.
Before considering the economic and societal damages should these devices be linked to essential services such as transport or healthcare. As the digital realm increasingly merges with our physical world,
you hear that? And Cloud Demon Devil, that piece of shit who needs to get his face stomped in. All right. He said, we at the point where the human have to get immunized. Remember that? When he was saying that dumb shit? That we got to get immunized. We need to take something that's going to give us that immunity against all types of diseases and all that shit. We need to get digitalized. How are they going to do that? By collapsing this system and building a new one, the global reset. So they came out, they telegraphing everything they're going to do. So we don't, once again, we don't want to hear this propaganda of another country is about to attack our infrastructure. No, it's all being done from within. All right.
Effects of cyber attacks on our safety just keep on expanding at a faster pace than what we're preparing for. COVID-19 was known as an anticipated risk. So is the digital equivalent. Let's be better prepared for that one. The time is now.
Boom, right? And that is from the World Economic Forum. Okay? The World Economic Forum telegraphed what they're going to be doing. So these times that we're in, going back to that title, right? The times that we're in is not it has nothing to do with Russia or any of that shit. Okay, it's an inside thing that they're going to do to achieve or get to a certain goal. Okay, to get to a certain goal. So, hey man, just pay attention. All right, and at this point we got to stay in prayer. All right, because these devils are about to unleash. They're about to unleash the beast, man. All right, whatever it is that they're about to do, they're about to go in. Right, because of what? Let's get that real quick, and we're gonna close it out. Okay, these are all end time prophecies. All right, so we in a good case. All right, we in a good case. Those who know what's going on. All right, because none of these things that's coming it's going to be a surprise. We're going to be like, yeah, we said this was going to happen. And it happened just as we said. All right. Here's a book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants. Oh, that's the spirit. The time is 9:11. All right. It says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Okay. And when you call 911, that is an emergency. So these devils are in a state of an emergency. Okay. They know they have but a short time, so they got to make a move. And that move is going to result in a lot of people dying. All right. That great, the wrath, all right, from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai through Esau Edom. Okay. These so-called elites. All right. So I'm going to leave it off there, Lord willing, you've been edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Dwadi Yah Ba'ashem Yahushai. And until next time, Shalom.